to my channel, friends. Oh my goodness. I feel like I did not deliver on a promise that I said I was going to deliver, but this year has been nuts. And when I say nuts, I have not found a single moment to come back to my sewing machine to attempt to sew my own garment. Now, I will say, that doesn't mean I haven't been sewing, because I definitely have been. I've been busy working on a couple of different couches, which you may or may not have seen, and I'm actually creating a dedicated DIY channel for all things furniture, arts and crafts related. However, I will still be continuing to do my sew projects for fashion on this channel at this stage, just because it is relating to fashion, and so I think that would suit this channel more. But if you wanted to check out that channel, it's called Project Katie Francis. It used to be my old vlogging channel, but I'll link that down below if you did want to come over and check that out. I've been working on some really nice old furniture over the past month, though it's kind of been put on pause because we have a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, which I've been addressing, and I will be addressing more in the future on my Instagram account, so you can also follow me there if you want life updates. But today we are tackling my first ever dress. Now, I'm really nervous / really excited about this project. I actually picked up some fabric from Spotlight. It would have been about 6 months ago now when it was all on sale. I mean, I'm pretty sure they have a sale most times of the year. But I picked this up. I've given it a pre-wash, so that's why it's looking a little bit wrinkled, but it's this beautiful cotton linen blend. Actually, I don't even know if it is linen, but it looks like a linen. I think it's mostly cotton. And I'm really excited to be making a dress that I got inspired to make by Rosary Apparel. Now, I will link her channel down below and her Instagram. And she actually gives free tutorials sometimes on her YouTube channel. Sometimes she also replicates like patterns that she has like paid patterns for. And I did go onto her website to try and buy this pattern, but I couldn't. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I couldn't find the paid pattern on her website. It was only on her YouTube that I could find this. So as far as I'm aware, because it's her Instagram make replica, I don't think she has a pattern that you can pay to have that. But this was the particular design I was looking for, and I'll pop up an image of what my inspiration is like. And obviously I'm a plus size gal, so for me, I haven't seen this design on a plus size woman on her Instagram at least, but I'm really excited to give it a go. I think it's going to be a relatively easy design apart from the stretchy, what do they call it? Is it chiffon or chiffon or something like that? I don't know what the term is. That's always a good place to start when you don't know what you're talking about. But today I'm going to be just giving it a go, giving it a crack, seeing how we go. And if you guys are just as excited as I am to get stuck into this project, please go down and hit a thumbs up, and also consider subscribing to my channel. It really does support me, and it also keeps you up to date with what content I bring out. So without further ado, I've been taking my measurements this morning. I've been following along her tutorial, of which I'll play clips throughout this video. She basically said we need 4 squarish panels, or like 4 rectangular panels to be sewing with. So I've just taken my measurements, which was very awkward because I cannot for the life of me find my ribbon measure tape. So I actually used a bit of string and a 30 centimeter ruler to just like measure that out. So I did my bust area by how long I wanted it. I'm kind of going for that midi vibe. And then I'm also measuring my shoulder, like around the shoulder and down the arm, how far I want it. And I kind of want it to end around that elbow area. So those were the 2 measurements that I've made. And now it's time to get cutting the material. And I'm about to find out if we have enough or not. I'm fairly sure I ordered about 5 to 6 meters of this. So here's hoping we have enough.
First, cut out 2 rectangles that measure 75 by 100 centimeters or 29.5 by 39.5 inches, which works out to be my bust measurement doubled by how long I'd like my dress to be. Again, I go into all the details on how to find your measurements in the previous video. Next, I cut out 2 rectangles at 65 by 50 centimeters or 25.5 by 19.5 inches. These will be my sleeves. Then I cut out 4 pocket pieces. There's a link to my pocket template in the description below. And that's literally all the pieces I need for this dress.
So we are starting my first ever project. Can you guys believe this? I have the most divine material, like we said earlier, from Spotlight, and it was a little bit interesting cutting into. It liked to fray on the edges, so I really tried to be really careful while cutting this. Sorry if I sound sick, I am.
Take the pocket pieces, as you can see I've overlocked mine, and pin them approximately 40 centimeters or 15 3/4 inches from the top of the dress rectangle.
So here I am just sewing the pocket bits. I actually manually cut these out. I decided not to go off a template and highly don't recommend that decision. It was a little bit wonky, and you'll see in a minute that it doesn't quite align up on the dress when I lay it down on the ground. Yeah, so here you'll see that I'm trying to pin it together to make it work, and it just wasn't working. And not to mention that, but silly old me did not realize that I was pinning them on the wrong way. I was pinning them on facing outwards, and I actually should have been pinning them to face inside the material. So we come to figure this out soon. Not quite soon enough, but I'm sure I'll show the process of that unpicking in a minute.
Stitch them in place.
This entire tutorial was super simple to follow, and I love how she articulated it as well. I cannot stand reading instructions. I'm much more of a practical person, so this was really helpful for me. And this is the exact moment that I realized, hold on, I'm meant to be ironing this flat against the material, and it already is. And then I started the process of unpicking because I had sewn all the way around and down the sides. So this was a laborious activity. Probably took about 20 minutes, maybe not even, maybe 10. Ah, the face of serious concentration and regret.
With right sides together, place one of the dress rectangles onto the other, matching the pockets together.
So this took a little bit of maneuvering around, and like I said, we sort of lost a little bit of that gap to the entrance of the pocket because my aligning skills and measuring skills were clearly not on that day. But that's fine. It was my first ever dress. I was willing to let that go. And then we got to sewing, which is my favorite part, I think, of any sewer, is doing the actual sewing and not so much the measuring and the cutting out. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. I also had The Good Doctor on in the background, which was the first time I was getting into this show, and it really sucked me in. So if you see me looking over to the left, that's what I'm doing.
Next, hem the top and bottom raw edges of the tube we've just created.
This part has to be my least favorite. It took forever. I don't have a lot of bench table space, particularly in the area that I was filming, so I had to do it on the floor like this, and it was super uncomfortable. And because I'm obviously a plus size gal, I've got double the material, which meant it took double of the time to fold it, and then you fold it over, and it's just monogamous? It's monotonous. And then the sewing began, and again, my favorite part, this is where we start to see it coming together, and obviously it's a long way off yet, but it's just the beginning of that exciting stage where it's a bag, and that's exciting.
Using a water erasable pen or some tailor's chalk, mark where you'd like the shirring to end on your dress. I've marked mine approximately 25 centimeters or 10 inches from the top of the dress. Now to start shirring. I've shared all about how to set up your sewing machine for shirring in the other tutorials, so check that out if you've never tried it before. It's really easy, by the way, but basically hand wind your bobbin with some shirring elastic and start shirring around the rectangle tube, lining up the presser foot with your last row of shirring to keep the stitches nice and straight.
I somehow missed the instruction to put the chalk on it, but I managed to actually stay pretty great within the boundaries and pretty straight lines. I don't know how, but I did. I think we'll just chalk it down to beginner's luck. Dad jokes, love it.
To make the sleeves, take the 2 sleeve rectangles we cut before and fold them in half. Stitch them together into a tube along the raw edge. Then hem both ends by folding in about 1 centimetre or half an inch twice.
I actually didn't want shirring on my sleeve because I wanted to make it look a little bit fluffier and frillier down near the elbow, so you'll see what I do in a minute.
Stitch the hem down, leaving a small opening to be able to thread some elastic through.
This face of concentration, and I don't even know what that lip movement is, gets me every time.
Measure out some elastic the size of your arm where the sleeve will sit and the size of your shoulder from underarm to underarm. My elastic measured approximately 25 centimetres or 10 inches for the arm and 45 centimetres or 18 inches for the shoulder. Then, using a safety pin, thread the elastic through the casings we made before, putting one of the longer pieces of elastic in one end and one of the shorter pieces of elastic in the other end. Stitch the two ends of elastic together by going back and forth with a zigzag stitch. Pin the sleeves to the dress at the side seam, attaching about 20 centimetres or 8 inches of the sleeve to the dress.
So I thought I'd recorded it, but I obviously didn't include the footage. I actually attached the same stretchy material that we just threaded through the top of the shoulder, and I actually sewed that to the bottom of the sleeve area. So I pulled it taut and I let that bunch up. It still didn't get as tight as I would have liked, but it's better than what I would have achieved with the shirring option. When it came to attaching the sleeves on, I started smaller and I worked my way further and further across as I felt that it would fit me better, because I wanted to test it and I had never tried something like this before. I didn't want to sew too much and have to unpick, so I decided to start only with like 5 centimeters sewn, and as you'll see in a minute, I try that on and it just keeps slipping off the shoulders. So I actually adjusted how I was going to sew the sleeve on, and I kind of twisted it a little bit.
And your beautiful puffy sleeve dress is complete.
2 wine bottles, 2.5 days later, and here's my result.
So, how does it compare?
I've been waiting all night. Watch you blow up my light. Please don't come over, 'cause you're not sober. Yeah, now you know that ain't right. If your dude knew you was coming over, that would be a problem.
There you have it, my first ever dress or clothing item for that matter that I've ever sewn in my life. I hope you guys like it just as much as I do. I honestly am so thrilled with it, and make sure you come into the comments and let me know your thoughts. Bye guys.